Hello everyone and welcome to this special one-off podcast where we're going to meet some people who have been working on a new project, a new concept I think called Sharing Care Together. So joining me in the studio today we have Devine, who is team lead for for the South Community Mental Health Team and Primary Care Mental Health and Wellbeing as well. What a title! What a title! Long title there. And then joining also myself in the studio is Ellice Parsley. Great name. Loving that, Ellice. Lovely name there.
Thank you.
She's an advanced nurse practitioner with AIDARS. Now, I'm going to come here because we have been guilty before on the podcast of using abbreviations. So I'm going to come to Ellice very quickly. One to say good morning, Ellice. And also, what is AIDARS?
So, yes, good morning. And AIDARS stands for Angus Integrated Drug and Alcohol Recovery Service.
Fantastic. So this is really nice because so we have someone from mental health, from Michael here at Mental Health Services, and then we have yourself from Substance Use Services as well, which I know that there is a number of people talking about how working together is much more effective for the person, how better outcomes for the person as well. So I'm sure we're going to have a wee bit more conversation around that and how this project concept has been taken forward. So if it's okay with yourselves, I'm going to go straight to Michael. So Michael, I'm going to come to yourself and just ask really the question that everybody will be wanting to know out there, all our listeners, what is Share and Care Together?
For today, Colin, it'll be Mick. We'll lose
It'll be
my
Mick.
Sunday. We'll lose my Sunday title.
Lose a Sunday name. Okay, Michael, that's absolutely. So Mick, can I ask again? And actually, I should have said that first. I do apologise. Are you okay? Are you well?
I'm good. Very excited. Excited to be on the podcast. I feel like I'm getting interviewed by Parky. This is great.
Loving that, loving that. So I'm going to ask yourself, Mick, just as I say, listeners really want to know, said at the top of the show there, what is Share and Care Together?
I'm so happy to be in the podcast and promoting this, Colin. This is something that we're all really, really passionate about. And essentially, it is a Tayside-wide group that will be using the principles of design and co-design to make connections with people across Tayside and use storytelling. And what we want to use with people's stories, people with lived experience, is to make those connections, use those stories to influence how we create mental health across Tayside, use those stories to make sure that access to mental health services is fair and equitable across Tayside, find out what actually matters to people in terms of their mental health. You know, when we think about mental health, we think about, like, you know, in my kind of role, severe and enduring mental health, and it's all about the kind of treatment. A lot of the exercises that we've done outside the VNA and actually just walking up to people and having conversations and asking, what's mental health mean to you? You know, people say having someone to talk to, accessing my gym, having someone to go for a walk. So, really finding out what it is that is important to people in our communities and using that information to influence.
Thank you very much. That sets the tone really nicely there, and I heard a few words there. I heard V&A being mentioned there, and also talking about design. There's no better place probably to talk about design than the V&A. So that obviously was a great opportunity there. So co-design is something that words that I've not heard that often, especially when we talk about from a social work, social care point of view, and from a health point of view. We talk about working together, but co-design sounds really interesting in how that's came about, and also that story or storytelling. I always think that's a great thing. People telling their story and us listening to what that is. If you go back, us being on the show today and in the studio today, we're telling a story as such about just what's happening, and it's really good just to hear that and hear how things are produced or co-designed on this occasion. So Ellice, if it's okay to you, and I'm going to come to yourself now and just follow on with that question, how did this all come about? We've heard the V&A, we've heard co-design, we've heard stories, but how did it all come about?
So yeah, so it came about actually last year. Um, so just over a year ago, we were all invited to people with health services design workshop at the VNA. So it's design experts at work at the VNA. We were invited to this design thinking accelerator event, it was called. So it was over 2 days. We were encouraged to sort of design or like incorporate design into sort of the way that we work and think, which is sometimes something we don't really do day to day when we're working. So it was a really good 2 days actually. And yeah, after doing all these different sort of tasks and using different tools, this project was what we came to at the end of it. So yeah, the 2 days it was a roller coaster, I would have said, whether that be a roller coaster of emotions or just, yeah, just thoughts about it. Because there would be points where you'd be like, what on earth are we doing here? And then it'd be like, wow, this is so exciting. And like, we're really getting somewhere. And yeah, it was just trust the process, really, because at the end of it, we came up with something that everybody was really, really interested in. So yeah, so that's how it came about.
Can I ask, Ellice, because you started the show by introducing yourself and saying you're an advanced nurse practitioner, and I would imagine every day you look to solve puzzles, let's say, challenges in your work. So why was this different in that sense of being put in that room and looking at that and that sort of co-design sort of way? And also, I'm not saying you never work with mental health. I'm sure every day you work with mental health in the role that you do, but coming together with Mick sitting from Perth, I'm going to say it, and yourself sitting from Angus as well. How did that bit come about as well? What happened there?
Yeah, so yeah, as in my role as advanced nurse practitioner, yeah, I do work very much on my own in clinics. So it was fantastic to have people from different areas. We also had people who have lived experience. We have carers as well. So working collectively together to sort of bring different ideas, really, and just things that I maybe didn't think about at all. It just really opened up just ideas. It really did. And apologies, I forgot what your other question was that
That's
you had
okay.
asked
No, no,
me.
that's okay. I was just saying that in your role, and you answered that, you're advanced nurse practitioner, you're solving puzzles all the time. But how did it come about that Mick from Perth and yourself from Angus? How did on the day were you put into groups? Did you look at some of was there sort of challenges that were put out there to sort of say, okay, we know that moving forward, one of the things that Scottish government and also within Tayside we really want to encourage is that better work and understanding between mental health and substance use. Is that why you came together, or was it just by chance that the two of you were sitting there scratching your heads going, what are we going to do and why are we here?
To be honest, I can't recall exactly how we came into groups because I don't know if you remember, Mick, how like we actually got into groups on that day. Do you remember?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was just random, but
Yeah.
Jackie Pepper actually opened us up, Colin, and I can't remember if she said that she was giving us permission to be brave or permission to be bold. So I'm not wanting to misquote her, but that kind of definitely set the kind of tone for the 3 days. And I think, well, I know that we are trying to be brave and bold with sharing care together.
Fantastic, thank you. So I'll come back to yourself, Mick, just on that, and then I'll go back to Ellice and ask this question as well. But where do you see this going? What is the vision? What is the horizon? One of the things just allow you to answer that. One of the things I like doing, and whether it is for my love of Doctor Who, I'm unsure. And some of the things I've done in the past is where I take people in the TARDIS, because the TARDIS can go back the way and it can stay where it is, and it can go to the future. So if you were in the TARDIS If we were all in the TARDIS this morning, we set that for a year down the line type thing. It makes that funny noise that the TARDIS does, and the doors open. Where do you see this going? What would be that vision then?
The vision is to make connections and have conversations in every corner of Tayside, regardless if it's a rural locality, if it's in Dundee. We want to identify our stakeholders and we want to make meaningful connections and using those connections to gather stories. What's really, really exciting about this stage of the project is that we have our prototype promotional material. So we have our posters ready, we have our leaflets ready, we have a video. You kindly gave me the opportunity to have a stall at the November event in Maria Royal recently, which was a huge success. Myself and Colin from the group recently gave a presentation at the V&A on the 10th of December, which was fantastic because we managed to get lots and lots of pledges. One of the most important pledges was to make connections for funding for an external website. So because this is something authentic and real in its own right, and kind of thinking about our own values as a group, we don't want Sharing Care Together to be owned by health or social work. So it was really, really important that our website is external. So that is really, really exciting. Once we have that website, we want to have a QR code in all of our promotional materials so that people can access our website and share their stories directly. We are in touch with the V&A for their continued support in terms of promoting Sharing Care Together. But the sky really is the limit, Colin. You know, we're wanting to have conversations wherever we can, whether that's with people in the street, whether that's with people in the gym, whether that's there really is no kind of ceiling for where this project can go. We want to link in with the existing work streams, such as um, the work that Pete Lefevre has going on. We want to share things that are going on with people across Tayside. We want to share good practice across Tayside. So if there's something really, really good going on in Angus, I need to know about that in South Perthshire because I could be missing a trick and people in my locality could be missing out. I think in terms of linking in with the workforce and staff engagement, this has the potential to completely improve our culture within mental health and to really restore and rebuild trust with people across Tayside. So really, I suppose where we go or where we could go, the potential for me is massive. We want to link in with things like care opinion. So we're not just responding to feedback with a kind of response. We're wanting to use that story to empower people to say, thank you for sharing your experience. This is what we're going to do with that story. So if you think about the people that you work with, Colin, in AIDARS, people with substance misuse issues, you know, I don't understand what sort of stigma these people go through on a day-to-day basis. They would be able to tell me, which is really, really important. So I suppose that, in a nutshell, is what we're wanting to do. We're really wanting to just make connections with people.
I think there's some really strong words there. That about making connections is so important. If we stripped all this back, I'm sure Ellice and yourself, Mick, would agree that the biggest part of our work is to build positive, meaningful, professional working relationships with, be that patients, clients, the people, the communities. And one of the things, one of the biggest challenges around is trying to make those appropriate connections and people also, I would say, understanding what services actually do as well, and what they can assist and what they can help with. So I can see this being a very much a two-way process, because when you're listening to someone's story, it also gives you the chance to answer that story as well, or come in at that story and give your own story around that. So I think making those connections is vitally important, and I think that builds very a very strong value base for the staff as well, who are hearing these stories and listening to how can we make changes, how can we improve what we do to meet the needs of people and what they're saying or what some of these stories are. So I think that's a fantastic thing. I'm also a few days at the V&A though, Mick, and you're now talking about building websites and QR codes. Who would have thought of that, eh? A few weeks ago you were talking about databases. Now none of that stuff for me, Colin. It's all now QR codes and making websites. But I think that's really good, and I do like that whole bit there when talking about stepping out the TARDIS. As much as that's just a visionary for our listeners there, I think everybody can step out the TARDIS in a few years' time and think, what do I want this world to look like? What do I want the services that I work for to look like? And how are they going to benefit the people that we work with? So I think it's a good opportunity for staff to do that themselves. So absolutely fantastic. Ellice, the TARDIS isn't real, just in case anybody does think it's real, but it's not really real, as much as I'd like it to be quite real sometimes, to go back and do some of the things, undo some of the things I've done in the past, but as for another podcast. But what do you need to actually get there? What is it that you need to get to the point that Mick has just been explaining there?
Yeah, so there's a few things really, and a few asks, I suppose, from us as our wee team at the moment. So yeah, a shout out, I suppose, to Dundee. First of all, we're kind of looking for some reps from the Dundee area, because we're quite Angus, Perth and Kinross. We've got quite a lot from these two areas. So anyone in the Dundee area would be great if you could come and join us. That would be fab. And yeah, just support from across Tayside in general. Yeah, just to share and connect this concept. Share it as wide as you can. So this podcast today is a fantastic opportunity, as you know what I mean, a starting point as well. There's already been mentions, Mick, you were talking about the website. Just as much resource as possible, really, everything and anything, just to make this work reach as much people.
Absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. I'm going to come back to Mick in a minute. I'm going to say, I think that whole bit again, Tayside were quite lucky. As much people might not think that, we have three large organisations and NHS that straddles all of them, but we have Perth and Kinross Council, we have Dundee City Council, and we have Angus Council as well. And in their own areas, everybody is doing similar, but there is definitely things that we can learn from each other as well. So and that bit there with Dundee sort of sandwiched in the middle there of two often rural areas. I think sometimes the challenges in rural can be very interesting for when you live in a city as well. Just how do you challenge those sort of communication and building links with people in rural areas, and what you can then bring that to the city. So I think Dundee getting on board would be absolutely fantastic. So definitely one of the things we can do is share the podcast with everybody, and share what you're doing with everybody, and you can put the notes on here and any links to yourselves as well. Mick, coming to yourself, just I suppose just carrying on from that, what do you think you also need to take this forward?
People, Colin. People are at the heart of everything that we're doing. This was, I suppose, a concept after 3 days at the V&A. The people that have come in and joined our really small group have all been amazing. Maura Gill division, she's got for this, the passion and commitment that she's shown. Ashley Blundell, Robin Kinnear, who came up with the video and all the promotional stuff. Everybody in this group is so passionate, but we don't own Sharing Care Together. There's no ownership. So we want everybody and anybody that can contribute and make this a success to come and join our group. From the presentations that we've already done, we have commitments for venues, which is really, really important. Angus Voices, Mindspace, organisations like these that can co-facilitate workshops. So in order to get as many stories as we can, we need to have multiple workshops going on at the same time across Tayside. So there's not just one conversation in, one building at one time. These conversations are going to be ongoing, and we're needing people to help us facilitate gathering that information, helping us make connections with individual services, people that maybe don't have a voice. And I think when people buy into sharing care together and get involved and see the potential, it's fantastic. So really, for me, it's promotion. We're hoping that in the age of Teams meetings, that we can have a background, so anybody at a professionals meeting could share that background. When we do have the kind of signed off promotional material, we're hoping that everybody and anybody will promote in their places of work, anywhere. So really, yeah, just for people to buy into it. And if anybody has any contributions or any pledges that like to make to sharing care together, we're always accepting of that.
Well said, Mick. I think that it sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. Now, I know we're just coming to the end of the show here today, and I think you've kind of summed that up there, Mick, really nicely about what really matters about this work. He also gave a shout out to a number of people that obviously you have told that you were on the radio this morning. I thought I better just get Moira Gill and Robbins and everybody's name out in case you just missed anybody. So I'm sure you covered everybody there. So well done and done doing that. But Ellice, just coming back to you, what matters about this work to you, I suppose, and that is, and it's okay to ask it about. I can see, and I can see that visionary of how it's going to assist and try and pull everybody else in. But about you, what matters about this work to you?
So to me, I'm very passionate. Obviously, I do work within the area of substance use, but I'm very passionate that everybody has fair access or has the opportunity to access mental health support. And there has sometimes been difficulties for people who have substance use difficulties to access that. And there's a lot of evidence there as well that suggests that people are really quite happy with their care when they've got both services, substance use and mental health working together. So I think it's just really important to have their voices heard, everyone's voices heard, really, and just making sure there's not like one door, like that's the door you go through and that's where you get support. I think it's just opening it as wide as possible for everyone. And yeah, and in terms of myself working within the NHS and working within mental health services, just to improve overall work environments as well, ensuring that staff are able to voice that. Yeah, everyone. That's what it matters to me.
Lovely. And Mick, just finally with yourself, you gave a really nice sort of roundup there, but what matters about this to you?
This, for me, has been the most rewarding piece of work that I've had been lucky enough to have the opportunity to get involved with in my career. The opportunity to actually rebuild relationships with people across Tayside, because I think there's probably been a fear factor with feedback in recent years. If I think about the Strang Report and kind of different things, and I think there's almost been a defensive kind of reluctance to accept that we could improve within Tayside. So this is completely, smashing down these barriers and saying not only do we want feedback, we're actively pursuing feedback, and we're tying that feedback loop. We're letting you know how your stories are changing services across Tayside. We're wanting to improve culture within the workforce, and we're just wanting to improve the lives of everyone in Tayside. And as staff, we're all stakeholders as well. Everybody has a family member that will need to access services at some point. It's in everybody's interest to have a mental health system that works for everyone.
Thank you, Mick. Do you know, I'm going to round up here, and we're going to end, which is a real shame, because I always say that. I think, I could sit and listen to your stories all day, and I really mean that. It has been a lovely listening to your stories, and you have shared that in a very caring way. So I do like that bit there earlier on when you're talking about Jackie Pepper, who is the Chief Officer for the Perth and Kinross Health and Social Care Partnership, using the words brave and bold. I think, one, you have both been very brave and doing something that was maybe out of your comfort zone and coming together. It sounds like it has been a really good opportunity. And another word I use quite often is pioneers. I think you've pioneered a way forward here, especially around, I think, Mick, I take that bit that you just said there about maybe we were a wee bit nervous and scared, and things have changed. The world has changed since COVID as well. I will always say that. And we maybe separated, not that there was not that there was a physical wall up between Angus, Dundee and Perth, but definitely it is lovely to see, and I truly mean that, it's lovely to see people working together from across Tayside, and I think the more we can do that as well, I think is going to be a real advantage to all the people within Tayside that we work with, and mental health is such an important thing, and I'm so glad to, as I said, listen to both your stories today, to how you got to this point, and create and share and care together. So can I just say, Ellice, once again, Ellice Parsley, lovely name there. Loving that.
Thank you.
Loving that name there. And Michael, not that your name isn't good, but Mick, for today, it has been a pleasure from both of you listening to your story today. So thank you very much, and all the best. What we'll do is we will get the podcast out to everybody, and any promotional stuff you have with that, we will share that with everybody as well. And Dundee, I think I'll final off. I'll switch off by Dundee. I hope you're listening, and hope you get in touch. So Mick and Ellice are looking for your assistance. So thank you very much. So see you both later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colin.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.